Hey, what's up? It's Kit time for another video. Today, we talk about travel and fishing and the gear. I'm going to show you some gear that I use and then the psychology of actually why I chose them. Very, very important, I think. So that if you travel and then decide to take gear with you, you'd be able to see exactly probably have like a starting point. I'm not telling you to buy these things, exactly the same things, because I think the rods you don't find anymore. Okay, I was just lucky to actually find them when I found them, and this was years ago. All right, now the choices of the reels I think is very important, especially the reel size and the line size, because there's a psychology behind it. Okay, the type of gear that I chose to take with me I think is also very important. Okay. Now, again, I'm not endorsing or saying that this is something that you should buy because they're really not that good. To tell you honestly, if I would be able to just take whatever gear um, I want with me, if I go somewhere, like take for example, I'm going to the Philippines, I'm gonna go shore jigging, or there's a chance for me to go shore jigging, then I'd take my proper equipment. The problem is, it's not always that I can take a long rod tube with me, especially if there's two legs to the trip. Like take for example, I'm landing in Manila and then I'm going to Cebu, or I'm going to like Mindanao and do some fishing there, and it's gonna be very easy going to Manila. The problem is it's actually the local trips and all that, because you don't know if those local places, those local transits would actually be able to take a long rod case. Now, given that there were times where I had to travel with a 9 foot rod case with me, okay, I actually would not go through that kind of trouble. So, there are some instances where, let's say, a 7 foot or six something, probably even shorter, like a 6 foot rod case would be very practical, and you can do that. Okay, but it's still kind of cumbersome, especially when you're in a place like like the Philippines, where you have to wait for your luggage for a really long time. And guess what? The nightmare of just waiting and opening that case. Oh God, I don't want to go through that. Okay. Now again, having said that, I've always had my rods okay at the destination. And the worst that could happen is that you arrive at your destination and then find that your rods are broken. That's your fishing trip right there. Now, if you're in a place like, take for example, Thailand, which I fished several times, they have really good tackle shops there, and you could do two things. Okay, one, if you have the budget, buy the stuff there, the rods. Okay, the reels you could take with you, the rods you could buy there, because they have really good rods, probably better than what you're using, JDM as well. So, and cheaper. Okay, so you could probably buy a rod there that you could use. But if you already have one, right, then packing it correctly, or packing it so it won't get damaged, or let's be realistic here, you're actually going to be taking at least two rods anyway, at the very least. Okay, and putting them in a rod case, ensuring that they don't break, is an art form on its own. Now, my problem hasn't been the going to, it's the coming back, because you have all the time to prepare when you're going, but we have this nasty habit of actually stretching out all the whole fishing time and give ourselves only like well, myself, that's a nasty habit. I don't know, maybe you're more organized, but I always give myself very little time to pack up and leave, you know so that's my problem. So the screw up always happens at that time. All right, so it's I've been trying to restart this video. I've done the intro, I've been trying to restart the video, but if it's not the dogs, it's something else crazy. All right, so got myself some coffee, and then before this also, I was just gonna show you guys one example, and then I thought to myself, like, I have two rods that I traveled with recently. This was like, I don't know, about a year ago or something, when I visited my uncle, and I brought two rods with me then, and what I did was to literally take them off of the rod case, because I still traveled with a rod case, because I think I brought a smaller suitcase when I left. Um, but normally, I travel with a suitcase and just put these things inside the suitcase, and that's it. It's that simple. But I think I brought some stuff. That's why I ran out of suitcase space, and I just decided to put two of these things inside a rod case and travel with that. But the rod case was actually shrunk down to the minimum, and that's the beauty of these things. Now, when I travel again, more than likely I'm going to be taking two of these rods next time, and then I'm going to show you guys how I pack for it. Okay, but let's start from the very beginning, and then this kind of gave me an idea on what I need to look for in rods when it comes to traveling. So a few years ago, I got into fly fishing because I wanted to travel and fish easier. You know, traveling with a rod case I have done for countless years, and I still do. But the problem is, it's not always travel friendly. Okay, there's a process that you need to go through to actually take rod cases that are like extended far beyond 7 feet. Okay, 6 feet, no problem, but beyond seven, I think it's going to be a problem, because a lot of airlines, they'll tell you that they can't take it, and holy crap, when that happens, it's not cool. So far, I have traveled with Emirates and Cathay Pacific without any problems when it comes to these. So I flew direct to the Philippines, and then I flew via Hong Kong. Okay, a third airline is Singapore Airways as well. I traveled to Singapore, and then from Singapore to the Philippines. Not a problem with these three airlines, but I don't know with the others. Domestically in the Philippines, it has become a problem for me. And after that experience, I told myself, like, you know what? If I could just take like 6 feet, or probably just, have a solution where I would be able to take a rod, a longer rod, probably, easier, then I'd be able to just put them in the luggage, and boom. That's where fly fishing came in, because the best rods are actually 4-piece rods. Here's a very good example. This is a Temple Fork Outfitter rod. Okay, and the tube itself, tough. Some tubes actually are aluminum, not solid aluminum, but hollow aluminum. So the rods inside are fully protected. Plus, these rods also come in a sock, almost like that. Okay, for those guys that are curious, this is a BVK, an older rod from Temple Fork, but one of the best casting rods ever made. 10 weight. And if you don't know, a 10 weight is the closest thing to a medium action spinning rod. And the sizing of the rods are actually according to the weight of the fly line that you're using, that you're supposed to be using with them. So this 10 weight fly rod works with a 10 weight fly line, and it works with a 10 weight fly reel. Now, as you can see here, traveling with a fly reel also very simple, flat, nothing to break. Okay, compact, easy to pack, man. You could just boom and then put it inside. Doesn't take much space. Same with this. Okay, boom. And these are lightweight. Okay, now how tough are they? I caught a tuna with this particular reel, and the rod that came with this tube is called a TICRX, also a 10 weight. I caught with that rod with that reel, I caught a longtail tuna in, and I've done it more than once. So they're tough as nails. Now, a 10 weight is something that you would use on the flats when the wind is really blowing. Like slower than that, a 9 weight would be perfect. Like normal conditions, a 9 weight would be perfect. or an 8 weight, depending on your skill. So 10 weight is something that you'd use in like really windy conditions. You'd still be able to really cast with it. That's why it's perfect for me, at least for smaller fish offshore. People would use a 12 weight offshore. I've used this for Dorado. I've used it for tuna. I've caught bonito with it. No problem. It's fun. Scary, but fun. Now, but that actually gave me an idea that, hey, if I found a 4-piece rod that comes in a nice solid container or carrying case, I'd be able to travel with a decent rod and reel. The problem with spinning rods is that almost exclusively they're like 2-piece, right? So this is a spinning rod right here, and it's a butt joint. So as you can see, it's long. This one right here, 9 foot, 10 feet, and it's long. This one spinning rod also long. So it forces you to actually take. This is a spinning rod and 2-piece. Okay, again, 9 foot 8, and 2-piece. So it forces you to take a rod tube, which is fine. It's just that for sometimes, it's especially for me when I travel, I have to wait, and I don't mind, because it's part of it. But you have to wait. Your luggage comes in. You already have your trolley, all that, and then you wait for a really long time for the rod case to arrive. Just a fact of life. It's not the airline's fault. It's special handling. So sometimes you also need to hunt for it. In my case, there were several times where the baggage claim area was here, and then I had to walk like a few, a good distance before I could get my rods. Even here back in Dubai, not always the easiest, and sometimes they lose it, and it has happened like once or twice. And in the worst case scenario, you know, when you pack your rods, you go to your destination, you open it, it's broken, you're screwed. Now, if you're in a destination like Thailand or whatever, Thailand or similar places like Singapore, guess what? They have good shops there that have good stuff. You could replace it. That's fine. But if you're in a place like the Philippines where, in like a remote part of the Philippines, and the only place to buy decent equipment is like in Manila, it takes several days for them to ship it. Even if you finish the transaction the same day, you're never ever going to get it the next day. Never. So it's difficult. Now, my screw up has always been on the going back, and this has happened once. And I swore to myself, because it was one of my favorite rods, I swore to myself that it would never happen again. So what happens is that I have ample time to pack on the way out. And going back, it's half-assed, okay? I don't have that much time, and sometimes I don't have the material to actually pack the rods with. So I have resorted to actually taking extras of what I pack, of what I used to pack from here. Okay, so home base, right? In the rod case itself, I put all the material. So extra tape, extra cushioning material, and stuff like that. I put it inside so that when I unpack, even if I break the stuff, which I normally do, which I break the stuff, okay, I have extras in the rod tube itself that I can use on the return trip. And there's a special way of doing it. I will show you guys when I actually have a trip out of here. So hopefully next time I'd be able to show you that. Now, what got me thinking was that if I could find a rod system that has something like this, okay, that is similar, it has a tube or a container that goes with, and specific to the type of fishing that I want to do, not a generalistic approach rod. Because guess what? I've had them for the longest time. I had travel rods. I don't travel with them because they sucked. It was just that bad. So a few years ago, when I went to the Majorcraft headquarters, so we had this meeting for the Barracuda, and I was there, a fly on the wall and stuff. So we were sitting there and all that, and then they introduced travel rods, and then they said like, "Oh, we're gonna, this is in the testing phase. Um, we're gonna be releasing this soon. Would there be some interest?" I looked and I was like, "Whoa, that's cool." What they showed were the prototypes of these right here. Okay, so this is the Majorcraft cross stage shore jig and cross stage sea bass travel rods. There are better rods than these. Okay, and I'm telling you, just that these are cheap. And I bought this off of Amazon Japan. Okay, I'm gonna be very clear. I bought these off of Amazon Japan. And when I saw them, I was like, oh my goodness, that is perfect. So shore jigging rod and the sea bass rod for traveling. That is awesome. Now, obviously, I don't need to tell you how effective shore jigging is. It is just something that, could be effective everywhere if you know what you're doing. So the case that they come in are actually pretty good. Okay, so it's pretty solid. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for a 2-inch section of PVC, and I'm going to see if I could fit that here. Probably modify it just so that it's like a shell, okay, so that it has extra protection, and that's going to be something that I'm going to be doing. Now, I'm going to take these out of the containers, the cases, so that I could show you the difference, because there is. Now, what's a good thing? Look, if you see, they're the same length, but this is 9.5 feet. The reason why I got excited is because of the fact that my fly rod case fits horizontally in a standard big sized luggage, which means I don't have to lug around a rod case. If I'm just going, let's say I'm going for fishing and nothing else, I don't have to take a rod case with me. I just have to take my luggage. And that thing has wheels, so it's very easy to travel with it. So I could take both, or I could take one. And guys, these are very lightweight, very, very lightweight. I would say that for a cross stage, look, it's mid-end. It's not gonna blow your mind, okay? But it's quite light. The action's decent, not the best, okay? But this is 9.5 feet proper length for the rod, for a sea bass rod and a shore jigging rod. Now the difference is, if you'd notice, this has double feet, whereas this one has lighter feet. And guess what? The specs of this is max 2.5 PE. This is max 2. So I could still use my usual line from here, and all I have to do is just literally take 2 reels from my reels that I use a lot. Now, when I last traveled, I took this with me and a fly rod. So this one, okay, maximum 2.5, right there. Already have it. Now, you can see that I have this little attachment here. It's called a reel stand, because guess what? When you're traveling, the last thing you want is to put your rod and reel on a rock or sand, and then the sand gets in. This actually kind of prevents it. So you can see there, see, stands it. You can find, I'm pretty sure you can just Amazon it, or if you're in Asia, you could do Shopee and you type in reel stand and you'll find those. Okay, why these two? There are others. There's jigging, and all this and that. Um, these two are probably the cheapest types of fishing that you could do on your own. So if I'm going to, let's say, Mindanao in the Philippines, lots of shoreline, okay, and then we could go on land trips and everything. I could have these with me, a few lures and all that, and guess what, I have two fishing systems that I could use and almost anywhere, and then I could cast out. These are good for stick baits and jigs, which gives you like super long coverage. Okay, this is good for jerk baits, soft plastics. All right, so uh, different types of fishing, two rods, very good coverage for both. I know that this is good for jigs and stick baits. Small poppers, slim poppers, no problem with this. And then this one, soft plastics. Oops, sorry. Soft plastics and jerk baits, rivers, big rivers for bigger fish. Out in the surf or the beach area, these two would work really well. Especially if you're in places that are kind of remote, that don't really see a lot of fishing. Perfect. Okay, they're they're so lightweight. It's amazing. Design's pretty good. Now, their actions, you're not really like the two-piece rods that you're used to. Okay, so what I do is before the trip I actually fish with these, and that's it. The only time I fish with these is either I'm on a trip and then before the trip, because guess what, before the trip I have to familiarize myself and get comfortable with the action of the rod and all its nuances. The bending on this is kind of different because it has three joints, as opposed to, let's say, the normal rod that we have that has one joint. Or it could be a butt jointed rod, which means that in effect the piece that you put in, it's like one piece. So it's totally different. The action, it's not the best. Okay, and mind you, these are mid-end rods, but guess what? It helps me fish. It helps me fish in my travel destination. Now, if you're looking for something really good, okay, your only other option, or there's two options, you can have your rod shipped to your destination, okay, or you could take it with you in a rod case. A third option would be if you're going to whatever destination and they have the rod for sale there. Okay, this I could take with me, and easy. So this is the solution that I came up with. These are just rods that are, they're specific for use. They're shore jigging rods, okay, and sea bass rod, okay. They cover quite a few of the fishing that I like doing. My gear, I can get myself familiarized with them. They won't feel strange. They're not going to be the best looking, or not the best feeling rod. They're not going to be the best feeling rods in my arsenal. But the fact of the matter is, I can get myself familiarized with them, and I would be totally comfortable fishing with them in a place far away from home. It's an enabler. Okay, so I don't really see it as a disadvantage. And a lot of people would argue, like, oh my God, those rods suck. And they're like, yeah, they're not top end. But I can fish with my own rods, and that's cool. I could use my own reels, and that's cool. And that's something that I can get myself familiarized with, fish comfortably, probably fish better than most people within that place. And guess what? You know what? When I went to the Philippines and used this, I was outcasting like people that were just using like normal, the gear that they had access to or what they were willing to spend on. I even had like a demo day with this. Now, what I wanna have eventually, if I had the money to spend on a 4-piece shore jigging overhead rod, that would be awesome. And I think there's one or two brands that do it, but they're not cheap. But overheads, or bait casters would give me a new dimension when it comes to like these types of fishing, especially for an all-arounder like a sea bass version rod. Uh, that would be nice, an overhead. Now, this is the fishing that I do here that's very familiar. So, I like right now I could literally go drive 10 minutes and be shore jigging, right? And this is something that I love doing. Uh, no brainer for me. A cheap way of fishing, and that's something that I want to be able to do as well when I go there. Now, it's a totally different story when the plan is to go offshore. Now, if you're going offshore, then a travel rod like this is no good. You know, uh, if you're targeting fish like let's say GT and all that, we have gear for that, and that's probably gear that I am willing to take and travel with for that specific purpose. Now, if I'm going casually to like say go to Cebu, right, and then that's my hometown, and then I have friends there, and maybe just to kill time and stuff, I could go casting around the city or probably travel a little bit outside the province and then do some casting there. There's no GT there. Well, there are, but you'd have to go out of your way to kind of look for them. But something like this is easy to carry, less of a headache, and overall, it's just something that it's kind of like comfort food. You fall back into the comfort food. This is like comfort fishing for me. So just probably have a stroll on the beach and then just start casting and then fishing. If I catch something, great. If not, then you know but if there are destinations like Thailand where I'd be able to hunt for barramundi and stuff like that, this is also kind of something that I would be doing, because guess what? These are good for like top waters and stuff, right? Cast it out, back, 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 boom. That'll be fun, especially on a longer rod. But then it'll be also fun on a fly rod. But hey, easier to travel with them as well. So again, I'm not recommending these rods particularly because there are better rods out there. Also, these are older models. So there have been better, newer models introduced in the market. But since I don't really use these a lot, as you can see, they look brand new. And I've traveled with them already several times. And I've caught fish with them. Are they essential? For someone who's traveling and fishing, yes. Something like this would be really nice. Now, if you don't need to travel around, and if you're traveling to say a very good destination, guess what? If you are industrious enough to actually travel to these places with a rod case, I would recommend doing it. Okay, but if you're, like me, you're just doing something casual, yeah, these things really good to have, because if I'm traveling with my wife and daughter, and if I'm going there to do, just fish, I'll take my proper rods and reels for that particular type of fishing, and I have, and I will continue to do so. Oops. But if I'm traveling with my wife, and then it's like I might fish, but it's not serious, I'll take this. Because guess what? Having this is still a hell of a lot better than using something half-assed wherever it might be. And that's it. Now, my way of thinking when it comes to these things also is kind of different. Now, here, when I fish here, so this is like what, PE2? This is PE 2.5. All right. So it just so happens that I spooled these for those rods. But if I'm using these exclusively here in the UAE, these would have the line that's on the bottom of the scale. So it would be probably 0.8 for this and then 1 for this. Because I like fishing light. But if I'm traveling, I'd like to have a picture of whatever the hell type of fish I'm fishing in and fishing for. So like take for example, if I go to Cebu, let's say, and I happen to catch a good fish or hook a good fish, in Cebu. Let's say whatever fish it might be, it could be grouper or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna give myself a lot of a chance. Okay, a lot of let's say the biggest possibility of actually catching the fish I would take, because um I traveled to get there. Okay, so I'll max everything out to give me the best chance of landing that fish. I normally don't do that. I normally go lighter because I want to be able to cast farther, cover more ground and everything, especially here. And I believe in the conditions here, you need to actually give yourself as much uh, probability of getting a bite. Whereas when you're traveling, what you want is to create that memory of catching something. So that's, for me, that's very important. Now you can choose to do that each and every single time you go out fishing. It's a mentality thing. I have a friend, his name is Kozo. He does exactly that. Okay, each and every single time he fishes, he maxes everything out. So if he could use PE8, he would use it, because I mean his nickname is the big fish hunter. And I told him, like, hey man, if you're the big fish hunter, I'm the small fish hunter. you know but his aim is always to catch the biggest, baddest fish. And for me, that's kind of stressful fishing, man. If you're into that sort of thing, go right ahead. That's your thing. For me, I want to have a good time. Okay, so in this particular instance, though, when I'm traveling, I'm giving myself the most chances. Okay, so when I hook a fish up, I make sure that my line is thick enough to actually get the fish, because I'm after that one photo of me holding the fish, creating that memory, and saying that, okay, I caught something there, right? So that's that. Now, if you don't share the same opinion, that's fine. We don't have to agree. uh it's if you want to fish that style the whole time, go right ahead, get yourself a medal. Good stuff. But especially if we're traveling, now imagine if I had my wife and daughter there, it'd be a picture with three of us with a nice fish, right? So for me, bang. Now, if I'm fishing alone, if I'm there for fishing, then a totally different thing, because I would actually fish the way I fish, and that's that. Okay, so I'll probably, if I'm fishing alone, I'm fishing like lighter line, I'd probably enjoy myself more. Because my God, when I fished with my wife, when we fished with her in Thailand, oh man, the whole time we weren't talking, you know? Because when I fish, it's like I want to do something the way I want to do it, right? Uh, sure, with these things, I could still do it, and that's all good. Maybe even if I'm going on my own and then I'm fishing, and then I'm actually wanting to catch something the way I fish here, then it's still good. I could still use the same thing. I just respool the line. That's it. Alrighty. Boy, was I just yammering there. Hopefully, I was able to share something very useful to you guys. These rods exist out there. Okay. Now, if you want links to these rods, I'll probably link. I have links for Amazon, Japan, because outside of Japan, I don't really see these rods. There are other rods for this. Of course, there's slow jigging rods as well, but I wouldn't really recommend them. But for these guys, yeah, just for casual fishing and nothing serious, I'd recommend them. It's just very easy. One thing that I wouldn't do is actually buy them for my regular fishing or use them regularly for my regular fishing. Um, there's three for rules that you're gonna have to deal with instead of just one. And imagine if one or two get stuck. Not a good thing. Not cool. No bueno. Sometimes you already have one stuck, and that's already a big problem, right? Anyway, so if and when I actually go on a mission or traveling wherever, I'm gonna show you guys how I pack the rod. So we're gonna do it from start to finish, and even actually have you tag along, probably just how the whole packing process is, because for the reels it's also kind of different. All right, that's it for this video. Thanks so much. Now, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. And for you guys, obviously, like, comment, the whole thing. I also like to take the chance to thank all the members, especially the ones that have just joined in now. Supporting this channel through memberships helps me and helps this channel grow. So very important. Now, only if you want to, go ahead and do it. I'm not gonna force you guys to you know, pay extra for something that you could get free. But in the members area, I do have exclusive videos for them, and that's just my way of thanking them. Alrighty, that is it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Class dismissed.